All right, guys, your essential question is how do we use basic integration rules to find antiderivatives? So far, what we've been covering in calculus have been derivatives, or finding uh, derivatives of equations and functions. We're actually going to go in reverse now and do a reverse operation and find antiderivatives. All right, your vocabulary is antiderivatives and integration. All right, so let's do a quick review right quick. Remember, whenever you have a position function, if you take the derivative of the position function, that gives you the velocity function. If you take the velocity of the, if you take the derivative of the velocity function, then you have the acceleration function. Well, what if we went backwards? What if I gave you the acceleration function? Well, obviously, you'd have to have a reverse operation to get the velocity and a reverse operation to get the position. So in other words, what is the reverse operation of differentiation? Well, the answer to that would be finding the antiderivative. The definition of an antiderivative is as a function f is called an antiderivative of a given function f on an interval I if, when you take the derivative of that function, it gives you f of x. For example, f of x is 1 over x is an antiderivative of this function because if you take the derivative of this function, you will actually end up with negative 1 over x squared. So in other words, antiderivatives are the inverse operation of derivatives. Now, here's the thing. Whenever you take an antiderivative, you have to make sure that you include a plus c. The reason is because if you take the derivative of a constant, it's 0. So that technically goes away when you take the derivative of it. However, since this is an indefinite antiderivative, you have to include that plus c, which just represents any constant. All right, so breakdown of the symbology is that this symbol stands for the integral. So the integral of the function of dx, the variable of integration, make sure you include that dx, is equal to the indefinite integral plus c. Always make sure you have the plus c. That's very crucial. All right, there are some rules for your integration, basic integration rules. First thing is whenever you have a constant, you can pull it out. With sum and difference, you can split sum and differences apart. The integral of any constant is just c. I'm sorry, the integral of 0 is just c, not any integral of any constant. The integral rule for a constant is that if you have the integral of any constant, that would just be ax plus c. Power rule, notice that instead of subtracting 1, you add 1, and then you basically do the reciprocal and get the coefficient that way. The integral of sine is negative cosine. The integral of cosine is sine. And then some more trig rules. The integral of secant squared is tangent of x, and the integral of secant x tangent x is secant of x. The integral of cosecant x cotangent x is negative cosecant x, and the integral of cosecant squared is negative cotangent.